Hi everyone, Pete here from Greenwave Productions and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about goal setting. Now, I have a separate video that's more of a how-to. It's a much more practical video on how I set my goals. If you want to check that one out after this one, because this one's going to be centered more around the importance and the principles of setting goals. So you probably want to watch this one first and then watch the other one for a bit more sort of practical hints and tips. I'll link that at the end of this video and in the description below. So feel free to check those out at your own leisure. First, let's talk about the importance of setting goals, okay? So goals, they help us stay focused. They help keep us motivated, and most importantly of all, they keep us on track when things get tough, because let's face it, at some point, on occasion, you're just not going to want to do stuff, right? Everyone's like that. Don't worry. We all have days where we much rather procrastinate than actually just crack on and get stuff done. Some days are going to be better than others. This is just a way of keeping you on track, just to recenter yourself and keep you going. Now let's talk about how to set effective goals. The first step that we do is we make sure that we set what we call SMART goals. So we use the word SMART as an acronym. So S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A stands for attainable, R stands for relevant, and T stands for time bound. Okay, so the first letter in our acronym was S for specific. So your goals have to be specific so you know exactly what you're working towards. So to give sort of three goals, let's say that you want to record a 5-song EP, you want to do 10 shows on a tour, and you want to increase your following on social media by 50%. So there's three nice specific goals there. So next we have measurable. You have to be able to measure your goals so you can keep track of what you're doing, and so you know when you've achieved them. So going back to our three examples, let's say that you want to record 1 song a week until the EP is complete. And the next one is booking the tour. So let's say you want to book 10 shows on a nationwide tour. And our last example was the social media example. Let's say that you are going to post 3 times a week and you are going to track follower progress using analytical tools and things like that. Next, we have attainable. Your goals have to be realistic. If they're not, it's only going to lead to disappointment and frustration for you, and nobody wants that at the end of the day, do they? So keep them realistic, make sure they're attainable. So if we go back to our example number 1 was an EP. So let's say that you want to record and release an EP in 6 months. You want to have a producer involved, and you need to set time aside each week to make sure that those things get done. The next example was booking a tour. So let's say that you're going to book a tour over the next year, and you're going to do that by contacting venues, promoters, other bands, and booking agents, just to help you promote your music. Third example was the social media example. So you want to increase your following by 50%. So let's say you're going to do that over 6 months, and you're going to do that by posting engaging content. You're going to utilize hashtags, and you're going to use promotional tactics to achieve that. Next, we have relevant. Your goals have to be relevant to the bigger picture, as it were. Going back to our first example of the EP. So recording and releasing an EP is relevant to your overall goal of sharing your music with a much wider audience, for example. Our second example is booking a tour. So booking a tour is relevant to your overall goal of exposing your music to a new audience and performing with other bands, okay? So our third example is increasing our social media following. So that's going to help to build a fan base, and it's also going to help to connect with that fan base. So lastly, we have time bound. It's really important to have a deadline so you can basically keep everything on track. Okay, it gives you a sense of urgency as well. So if we go back to our example, so the first example was the 5-song EP. So let's say you're going to record and release a 5-song EP in 6 months. Okay. The second example was the tour. So let's say you're going to do that. You're going to book shows, 10 shows throughout the year. Okay. And the last example was the social media following. Let's say that you're going to increase your social media following on Instagram, for example, over the next 6 months. The reason that you put some time-bound limits on what you're doing is that you can keep track of what you're doing. So let's say that 3 months in, you've hit 25%. Then you know you're on track. You know, you just keep going with what you're doing. If you're only hitting 15% 3 months in, then you know that you need to sort of change things up, or you need to put a bit more into, you know, researching your hashtags and all this other stuff that will improve that situation for you. Okay, so having a deadline, just it gives you a sense of urgency first to actually finish and accomplish your goals. Plus, it means that you can keep track of where you're at that moment in time. Also, it's really good to have long-term and short-term goals, especially when you have all of these different aspects of goal setting involved. So, you know, if you've got a load of goals for your career and you've got a load of goals for your health, a load of goals for your relationships, it's kind of difficult to juggle all of those balls or keep those plates spinning, as it were. So it's much better if you break these things down and make life kind of easier for yourself. Bite-sized chunks is much easier to get through than having this kind of big, overwhelming goals. So as a good example for that, let's take an example of health. A health goal for me is to lose a bit of weight. I'm carrying too much weight. So let's say that I want to lose 3 stone over the next year, for instance. Okay. If someone was to turn around to me and say, lose 3 stone in a year, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's actually quite overwhelming, really. It's quite a lot to do in a year. But if you break it down, it becomes a lot more manageable. So if someone was to turn around to me and say, why not lose £1 a week over the next year? I'd be like, okay, well, £1's not a huge amount. You know, maybe that's just a bit more manageable than 3 stone over a year. The beauty of thinking like that is actually there's £42 in 3 stone. And the last time I checked, there was 52 weeks in a year. So I've got a 10-week buffer. Because the chances of me losing £1 a week in and week out, is going to be really slim. Excusing the pun, of course. So, you know, 1 week I might lose £1. The next week I might lose £2. The following week I might put £1 on. You know, weight loss just doesn't work along the lines of, oh, you're going to lose £1, you're going to lose £1, you're going to lose £1 week in and week out. Plus, if I achieve it in 42 weeks, great. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to go and have a pizza. I'm going to have a beer or something like that, just to kind of celebrate and make sure that I feel great about what I've achieved. I think that's another important part. If you set a goal and you achieve it, make sure that you celebrate that fact, even if it's a small thing. You know, just, I don't know, have a packet of crisps or a chocolate bar or something like that. Just a little something, you know, just to treat yourself, just to give you that sense of reward. That can be really, really helpful and really spur you on for the rest of of achieving your other goals. A big advantage of setting, say, a yearly goal, for example, is 2 to 3 months in, that behavior will then become a habit. Now, I think it takes around 66 days for a behavior to become a habit, but I say 2 to 3 months because some things are just easier to implement in your life than others. So, but once you've kind of hit that 3-month mark, you've really broken the back of it, and you've created what is a positive habit. So you should be running on autopilot pretty much for 9 months beyond that first 3 months. So all you're doing is you're really putting in positive habits that work for you every day. Finally, don't be afraid to ask for help and support. Friends and family can be there to help motivate you and to keep you on track. Setting goals can be a powerful tool to help us grow and achieve our dreams. By following the steps that we talked about today, you can set effective goals and stay on track to achieve them. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to tell me about any goal setting strategies you have, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more videos and content, and best of luck with all of your goal setting for the next year. Thank you very much. Stay happy and healthy.